In pursuit of a serial killer, an FBI agent uncovers a series of occult clues that she must solve to end his terrifying killing spree. Is this film the scariest movie made in the last 10 years? Will it really become our generation's Silence of the Lambs? I guess we'll find out as we dive into our first special episode film review ever in a recent hot and controversial topic among many, Longlegs.
Is it scary being an FBI agent?
A letter was left with the bodies. We have 10 letters like it over the past 30 years. And all of them signed with one word. Longlegs.
There she is! You could have played nice with me. But you didn't.
Put the gun down!
And now that has led to all of this.
Welcome back to Chamber of Chills. I'm Adam.
And I'm Cameron.
And I am more than excited to dissect a film that is not only still out in theaters, but that Cameron and I were able to watch together last week.
I'm laughing because we've recorded this intro like 4 times already.
Oh my gosh.
It's been a day.
It has been a day, and I guess it's haunted.
Yeah. I am excited to talk about this one, though.
Yeah.
And like you said, first time we're going off the path of the top 50, and we just thought we'd talk about it.
Yeah,
popular film.
It's a horror film. It's big right now, and we were like, let's dive in. Why not the Chamber get involved?
Why not the Chamber?
We've already Cameron and I have already chatted about this a decent amount.
Yeah,
because we hadn't originally planned on doing this.
Yeah,
but we thought, hey, if a film is being compared to one of the most iconic serial killer movies of all time, then we have to.
Yeah.
So
here we are.
Whether
you want it or not.
I'm going to jump right into the film details.
Go for it.
Okay. This R-rated crime horror thriller film was released this year, like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So, it was directed by Oz Perkins, and he has only directed 5 films ever.
Oh, wow.
He's directed the critically acclaimed Gretel and Hansel in 2020.
That was him?
That was him.
Wow. I'm kind of shocked by that.
I actually never saw it.
I never saw it either. I just know it got
not the best reviews.
Yeah.
It has like a 5 out of 10 on IMDb.
Yeah, not great.
He directed an episode of The Twilight Zone in 2020.
Really?
Yeah, the new one. And he directed a film I've never heard of, I Am the Pretty Thing That Lives in the House in 2016. But get this, he's also an actor. And he acted in Jordan Peele's Nope. He wasn't like a huge character, I don't
really?
think.
I wonder if... Huh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So, very interesting.
Okay.
He's also the writer, so he's a writer-director.
He wrote this. Writer-director.
Star cast members, Micah Monroe plays Agent Lee Harker. Nicolas Cage plays Longlegs. And Blair Underwood plays Agent Carter. And then I forgot to add this, but I'm pretty sure Kira
yeah, that was...
Kira
Shrimp is in the film. No, yeah, I know. I didn't know that was her when I saw the film.
Mm-hmm.
And then afterwards I was like, oh my gosh, that was her.
Which I found out in doing some BTS. She was in one of his other films, which apparently is also about like Satanism.
Wait, what's it called?
The Black Coat's Daughter.
It sounds like a Satanist film.
Yeah, so I guess Oz Perkins.
That's what he gravitates to. Sketchy.
Very fun. No idea about Academy Awards. We're a little too early for that. But
yeah.
Neon, the independent film production company who created this film, I was like, how many have they won as a production company? They have won 6 Academy Awards collectively with 25 nominations, which is pretty solid.
That's pretty good.
I don't personally think, not to jump right into hot takes, but I don't personally think Longlegs will receive any awards, but not only just because of the film, but because horror often gets snubbed at the awards. So
even if it was perfectly executed, it's a reach.
Yes. Which, hey, Silence of the Lambs did.
Silence of the Lambs
did get that.
It happens.
Yeah. So
but once in every blue moon. Sponsor
This podcast episode is brought to you by
this episode.
Oh, that's okay. It's also brought to you by Apple.
Really grateful, guys, for the opportunity.
Yes. Thank you so much for letting us be a part of the Apple marketing.
We're so blessed.
I'm just kidding. If we get sued,
I know. This is our fault.
This is our fault. Okay. The ratings it received: IMDb 7.2 out of 10 with 26,000 ratings. Rotten Tomatoes 86% and Letterboxd 3.5 out of 5, so about 7.
Yeah.
The financials for the film, the budget was $10 million, but the global box office within 2 weeks has already passed the $30 million milestone, and apparently it made $10 million on its opening day.
Golly.
So good
Earned everything
for
back in one day.
Good for that.
That's good.
Good marketing, which I'm sure we'll talk about.
Yeah.
And then how long filming took? It started shooting January 16 of 2023 and finished filming February 23rd, 2023. So about 5 weeks.
Oh, wow. Wow. All right.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Okay. That's all I got for the film details.
All right. I'm up to bat.
Oh, yeah?
I've got a summary.
Film summary. Should we do spoiler alert first?
Spoiler alert. If you are, this is like probably the most we can emphasize spoiler alert because this is in theaters right now.
I know.
So you can just leave. We'll give you a second.
Skip a minute.
Yeah. So the summary was hard. I was telling Adam, this whole episode was kind of difficult because we've seen it one time in theaters. And when I was watching it as a viewer, not as much as a critic. So having to like go back and pick through my memories of it as a critic were interesting. But
yeah,
I have compiled a summary, not super lengthy, but probably lengthier than some of our other ones just because there are so many moving parts. So here we go.
Yeah, I'm ready.
The film is split into 3 parts. In part 1, we center in on FBI agent Lee Harker.
Agent Harker.
Her first name is Agent Lee Harker, who is new to the force and is assigned to a decades-long murder case involving multiple families who were all murdered by the fathers before they took their own lives. Additionally, a letter was left at the scene of each crime with satanic symbols and coding, all signed by a killer known as Longlegs. With the new evidence, Lee returns it to her isolated cabin to begin the investigation, where somebody, we can assume is Longlegs, comes by and drops off a letter. And there are instructions to not open this letter until January 14th. That then brings us to part 2. Lee, of course, opens the envelope regardless, finds a birthday card featuring similar satanic coding from the letter that Agent Carter gave her. Agent Carter is her boss. She uses the 2 letters to decipher the code, which ends up being a passage from the Book of Revelation and a graphic threat of violence. After going back to discuss her findings with Agent Carter, she explains to him that all of the murders coincide within 6 days of the birthdays of the family's daughters. Kind of a mouthful. But it's all tied together, essentially, all of the dates being the 14th of any given month. The dates of each murder all form a triangle on a linear calendar, with one date missing from the equation, revealing when he might strike again. However, Lee does not tell Agent Carter that Longlegs paid her a visit at her cabin to drop off the letter. Don't really remember why. But then we kind of get another look at Longlegs, who's revealed to have stringy hair, a bloated face, and chalk white skin as he enters a store for supplies. Not critical of the plot other than just seeing him act like a creep.
Mm-hmm.
Through more unraveling, Lee and Agent Carter end up discovering a doll buried under the floorboards of one of the previous families that were targeted by Longlegs. They take the doll back to the station where they find it has a mysterious metal ball serving as the brain. When Lee speaks to the examiner who opened the doll, he puts a mic to the ball, which makes a static noise and causes Lee to see horrifying images, including a snake. The examiner also claims he heard the doll speaking his ex-wife's name. So you don't want that doll around.
No.
I don't like dolls anyways.
Yeah.
That's a different podcast episode. Through more investigative sequences, Agent Carter ends up telling Lee that he knows that she was visited by Longlegs when she was a child because her mother called the police the day it happened. This prompts Lee to visit her mother, Ruth, a religious fanatic, where she uncovers an old picture in her bedroom that she had taken as a little girl, a picture of Longlegs when he came to see her. Lee takes this information back to Carter, and using the photo, the FBI is able to track down and capture Longlegs. Lee goes into the interrogation room to speak to him personally and determine who his accomplices may be. He goes on about how he serves the man downstairs, wishes Lee a happy birthday, and then violently smashes his face on the table, leaving him a gruesomely bloody and noseless mess before he dies.
The worst birthday ever.
Worst. Carter becomes angry with Lee for not having him under control because now they will never know who his accomplice is. Lee then returns to her mother's home with another agent who remains in the car. As Lee enters the house, she doesn't find her mom, and that's because she's outside with a shotgun and uses it to shoot the agent in the head. Twice. She double taps.
Oh, that's right.
Lee runs outside to confront her mom, who aims her gun at a doll that looks just like a young version of Lee. So she's had this doll, I guess, stored away for a while. She shoots the doll, and a puff black of smoke emerges from the same metal ball found in the other doll. Lee then loses consciousness. Brings us to part 3. Final act, Ruth begins to explain things to Lee, saying that Longlegs did visit them when she was younger. Ruth had pleaded with him to spare her and Lee when he came back that night to commit the murders. And from that day on, Ruth became the accomplice to Longlegs, delivering dolls that he crafted to look like the daughters of each family that contained an essence of demonic magic that manipulated the fathers into carrying out the killings. Ruth would go to the house dressed as a nun, saying the dolls were gifts from the church. Longlegs had been living in their basement, which also made him the man downstairs, and Ruth justifies her actions to save Lee from dying and going to hell. Lee wakes up in her old bedroom, finds her mom gone, hears the phone ring, ends up at her boss's house because it's his daughter's birthday, revealing the final victim. The whole family's kind of in this weird trance, and her mom is there with the doll. Lee tries to warn Carter, but he's controlled by the doll, or I guess the ball inside the doll. He ends up killing his wife, and Lee kind of stands there with the daughter. Lee then shoots Carter before he can come near the daughter, and then her mom stands up with a fury to try and stab them, but then Lee shoots her in the head. And then when Lee tries to shoot the doll, she runs out of bullets and leaves the house with Ruby. That might have been 40 minutes of the episode. But
Hey, that was great.
that's what happened in Longlegs.
That's a lot that happens.
A lot. And it's all tied together. But
No, I'm glad that you went into depth, though, because I know that there are a lot of people who probably will not watch this, and they probably wanted to know exactly what happened. Well, thank you for that. That was amazing.
you're welcome.
Is it time for the breakdown of this ballroom?
I'm ready to break down. I got the breakdown shoes on.
So we have a thing, just to re-clarify what this is, it's called a Breakdown Ballroom. We have our podcast episodes split up into different sections. This one's called Breakdown Ballrooms. We go through our guidelines for what classifies a good horror film. And I'm glad that we're talking about a horror film. So let's dive into our favorite scenes. Dude, I know we're both going to say the opening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Has to be the opening. So we'll just take turns sharing why
Yes,
we love the opening.
please.
You take it away. I just talked for an hour. So
No, you're
go
good.
for it.
The fully red screen right off the bat. Unsettling. Has this
Beautiful.
like siren sound.
Yeah.
The audio, the sound design was just amazing. The music swells in with the flashback of the little girl wearing red in the snow with her white house behind her. Great contrast.
Yeah. Incredible.
The car pulling up and just waiting at the house. Then that wide shot and the slow zoom in of the car where you can't really make out like who's sitting in the car. Then Longlegs, of course, walking up to her, his eyes being out of the frame while he talked to her. His voice, his actions, his skin, his costume. All of it was just wildly unsettling and mysterious, and it was just brilliant.
Yeah, I agree. I said, for me, openings are so important, especially with horror, because atmosphere is everything. It has to set the tone immediately.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, I need a good hook, something that's going to keep me, interested, grab me by the throat, doesn't let go. All of that was done here.
Yeah.
Making it nearly perfect for me, which is like bold to say, but like I literally leaned over to Adam right after it happened and I was like, oh my gosh.
We were both like,
this
so
is going to be wild.
ecstatic.
Yeah. Beautiful opening.
Yes.
I love the introduction of Nicolas Cage as Longlegs. He was unnerving, deranged, made you uncomfortable, especially with how he like changed his voice because he's talking to this little girl who we later find out is Lee. But it feels like he's almost deliberately trying to sound more feminine in order to like bring this like comfort to the situation. Like he's trying to be delicate with her and it like makes it more creepy though. And then everything's white houses, white sky, white snow. It's just so great. I loved every part of it. And yeah, like you said, the framing, like the way it's just like below his eyes and it's in that 4:3 ratio. Everything just feels very confined and so unsettling and so good. Next one for me is actually kind of a hot take because I've read a lot of people complain about this scene, but I really enjoyed the convenience store scene. Because I feel like it helps the film stay grounded. And by that, I mean, if like you were in that store, you would not assume that he's like a serial killer. You would just think like, oh, that guy's, not right in the
Freaking
head.
weird.
And there's just like a level of freaky that nobody questions, which makes him more disturbing, I think, as a character. And then I found out that this was actually confirmed later by Oz, who said that Longlegs could not appear too monstrous. That was one of his goals early on, because it would spoil the relatability of the character's potential backstory. I was like, well, the convenience store for me is like where I see that the most, because he's just a weirdo. And he doesn't like kill the girl at the front counter. He's just like being weird. Then he drives away and he has that like moment of silence. And then he just starts screaming, which I couldn't make out some of the words, but Found out later he screams, "Daddy, mommy," which I got. You can get that. He says, "Daddy, mommy, unmake me and save me from the hell of living." Just very unhinged, and it just shows how loose this guy's screws are.
Golly.
But I really enjoyed that sequence, but a lot of people hated it because they said it's like super pointless, but I enjoyed it.
Well, and it was the first time we see his full face.
Yeah.
And he does that weird thing with his hands over his face, like playing peekaboo with the girl at the cashier.
know.
But to your point, I think that I would agree, and I did write it down, because not only does it humanize him, but it also shows that he is more methodical. And his approach to killing people, he doesn't just kill everyone he sees. Like,
Yeah.
And so I think that adds to the unsettling nature of his character.
Yeah.
But I agree. And then he gets in the car and drives home, and he's just,
That drive was crazy.
It's crazy.
Such a Nick Cage thing to do.
Which was cool to have that in the trailer, which talk about a trailer, dude. But it was cool to have that part in the trailer because it also has the shot of Micah, her character, driving in the car, and it's the same
Kind of
shot,
parallels.
and they just like parallel it, and I was like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
My next scene was actually Harker in her house when Longlegs shows up to leave something in the house.
Oh, yeah.
I just liked that scene. She sees something outside, starts exploring outside, then turns back and sees somebody in her house. Turns out Longlegs left the note that led her to knowing A, he knew who she was, and B, like leaving her some breadcrumbs or whatever.
Yeah.
So I just liked the suspense build. And
Him being in the house was crazy.
As soon as she turns around, you just see that figure walking in the house.
In
like,
her
oh,
living
that's
room.
cool.
Like if I went outside to investigate something and I turn around and see someone in my she was so like chill about it.
I know.
Well, she's a baddie. She had that gun, but
Yeah.
I would be shaking in my boots.
Oh, I know.
My next one, and this one, I feel like we've talked about this in other episodes. The film, and this is, it could be a compliment to Oz Perkins. Like it feels so cohesive. Like it just kind of moves along, like melted butter, So there's not a lot of, at least for me, like specific scenes. It's just kind of one long string of events.
Yeah.
But that said, the interrogation scene,
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. How could you not? Actually, I know people who have not. Some of the reviews that we read did not like
Oh my gosh. I know.
this moment. But she's finally sharing a room with the killer she's been tracking down for, over the course of the film. And I thought it pays off. I thought the acting from both of them was so great.
Well, it's the only time they act together. In the whole film.
Which is so fun to see.
Yeah.
And I think Cage is just so convincing and so raw. But I think of all of it, my favorite part was the shocking suicide, because I truly didn't see that coming.
No, me neither.
I was like, okay, they caught him, but I'm pretty sure like there's still like an hour left or something.
Mm-hmm.
And that was like kind of cool to see that unfold, because I was not expecting that. And it does kind of have you thinking like, well, shoot, what else is going to happen? Or like, what's really at play
Like, why
here?
would he do that? That doesn't make, And I agree. I put it too. I said it was the best scene of acting in the whole film, I thought. But yeah, I kind of do have, this is mildly hot about people smashing their face on a table. And I feel like in horror, that's like a big, like, everyone's doing that.
Yeah, especially after Hereditary.
Dude, ever since Hereditary and the desk scene.
Well, didn't he actually break his nose in Hereditary?
Yes.
Yeah.
So like nobody's
So
going to do it better.
You can't,
top that anyway. So, but
Yeah.
it's just like, we just saw another film recently. Wasn't it Maxine? Somebody smashed their face on a table. I can't remember.
I can't remember either. I think
Maybe
you're
it
right,
wasn't
though.
Maxine.
Oh, he did do it in Talk to Me. I know
Talk to Me.
The brother, like
Yeah.
It's definitely, I get what you're saying. It's become
Yes.
a thing.
It's a thing.
Yeah.
But hey, it is shocking. So
Yeah.
but I agree. My other one was actually the flashback to Harker as a young girl, where her mom asks Longlegs what he's doing there, and then he randomly starts singing.
Oh yeah.
Which I'm
Dude.
pretty sure is a cut right before the next part.
Yeah.
So freaking unsettling. Like
I love that as well.
if somebody started doing that like right in front of me, I would either run away
Yeah.
or I would shoot them.
Well, and it's so long. Like
He's
he
just
doesn't
singing
just-
and I just be like,
he doesn't
"What
just
are you
sing a
doing?"
note and then it like cuts. It's like he sings like an excerpt of a song, like a whole chorus, and then you're just like, when is this guy gonna stop? But
I know. And
I thought it was great.
I was like, what is he singing? Is he singing just a song?
I didn't look it up. I did find that clip again and rewatched it, and I was like, wow, that was just so weird and creepy.
so
but
weird.
yeah,
Let me in now, and it can be nice. Make me go now, and I have to come back. Not once, not twice, but as many times as I like.
worked.
That's all I had.
That's all I had as well.
Okay, cool. Concept. Okay. So the general concept of merging a mysterious serial killer investigation like Silence of the Lambs with supernatural and demonic elements like The Conjuring into one film is honestly really fun and unique from like a surface level perspective of like, hey, I want to try to do this. I'd be like, oh yeah, it's really interesting.
There's a lot of different ways you could go about it. Yeah.
The actual concept of Longlegs as the serial killer was really great and creepy.
I agree.
Of him, specifically him, and like he's a Satanist and he does things like that are weird. And I liked that. But yeah.
I said kind of the same. I said the whole trope of FBI versus serial killer, that's obviously not a new thing. But again, incorporating those supernatural elements makes it stand out a little more.
Yeah.
So I think he kind of added his own uniqueness to a very common, storyline. But it's unique. It's for sure. I was going to dive into something else, but it's unique, I think, in its own way. And it, like you said, if you pitch this idea, there are a lot of ways you could go about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's unique.
I know. Yeah. I know we'll dissect a little bit more later. For those who are new, we do have a hot takes hallway section at the end of our episodes where we dive into our hot takes.
We'll scorch your butts off.
We'll scorch your booties right off. Director's touch. Well, it's, in my opinion, it's obviously now Oz Perkins' most notable film.
Oh, 100%.
That's for sure.
Yeah. He put himself on the map with this one.
His approach to Longlegs, especially in the first half of the film, sets him up to be a horror director to look out for in the future, in my opinion.
For sure.
Particularly his combination of framing with sound design and writing stood out like incredibly well to me.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I said, you always love a good writer-director, especially if they can pull off a good film.
Mm-hmm.
I thought he did such a good job with like tension and atmosphere, which I've already mentioned being a huge part of this film. And he really made the screenplay come alive. I used this word earlier, but there's like just like a rawness that I feel like is hard to capture. And I feel like he did that really well. So I'm interested to see what else he comes out with, in the future. Hopefully we get another great horror director. Always down. There's always room at the table. So I'm interested, but I thought he did pretty well for this one.
I agree. I totally agree. Acting. Ooh, holy balls, Nicolas Cage. Dude.
My goodness.
Which there were some reviews about him that...
There's some people who said that ruined the film for them. They said it would have been much better without him in it. I disagree. I think he was so great.
Yeah. And our friend Nick, we saw it with him, but he had seen it with his wife, Sydney, right before he saw it with us. And he said that she told him whenever they left the theater, she asked why Nick Cage wasn't even in it.
Yeah, she's like, I didn't even see him in it. And Nick was like, well,
he was the main character. So that's how crazy his acting and costume and makeup are, though. Like,
oh my gosh,
you just can't even, you don't even notice him for a little bit.
Yeah.
He delivered an incredibly unsettling and eerie performance. And I was actually wondering how much of the creepy stuff he improvised and how much was directed by Perkins. And of course, there's some BTS as to why he did certain things certain ways. But
interesting.
I think that he just did great.
Yeah, he was so great. I think he'll be a memorable serial killer for a while.
Yeah.
And part of like what made him so great too was, which we'll talk about more later, the marketing though, like not showing much of him until you just get that experience in theaters.
Yeah.
For the first time you watch it. I thought that was really cool. But also giving credit where credit's due. I thought Micah did a great job.
I
you say
totally
Micah?
agree.
I've seen Micah. I've seen Micah.
I've heard it Micah Monroe.
I thought she was really great because she like kind of added this. I don't even know how to describe it. She changed her voice, and has this certain dialect that's really interesting. But I thought she did a great job too.
Well, and she's definitely a scream queen,
Yeah, 100%.
And I liked how she played the character.
Yeah.
Screenplay.
I really enjoyed it. I thought there were some great lines that really stuck out to me, and everything was guided along the way nicely, which again, I think it was a very cohesive film. I've seen a lot of people say it's just really slow. And I think there is a difference between, and I saw somebody else say this, so I can't take full credit, but I agree. Like, I think there is a difference between a film being slow and a film being like a slow burn. Like there are some films where you're like, okay, like honestly, The Birds was a little bit of like, okay, this is kind of slow.
Yeah.
But a slow burn, I feel like applies more here where it's just like, you're just gradually moving along. But I thought the screenplay was great.
Yeah, I said the same thing. I thought it was written fairly well. Dialogue felt decently natural, and I actually enjoyed the 3-part structure.
Mm-hmm.
the execution of it is something we'll talk about, but I liked that aspect of it.
Yeah.
So I thought that was fun.
Yep.
All right, the score. I know we already kind of alluded to it. Just unreal.
Yeah.
So good. Yeah. So good.
It even like felt like nostalgic at times because
Mhm.
it felt like it like made some callbacks to old horror, but then it was like the most eerie, unsettling. Like it was like really subtle most of the time. Like,
yeah.
but it was like what I mean by that, it was just never overpowering. It just like aided in adding to the tension, I thought. So
Mhm.
I really liked it.
Yeah,
But-
I totally agree. Cinematography. Cinematography.
Cinematography
If I could kiss anything about this film,
Yeah.
it would be the cinematography.
on the mouth.
I would
too.
kiss it so hard on the mouth. It'd be crazy. I
Yeah.
guarantee you'll have new up and coming directors telling their DPs, I just want it to like maybe look like Longlegs. You know,
Beautiful.
it's so
good.
pretty. The dim lighting, the colors, contrast in the scenes, the grade, the camera position and framing to make us feel like we as the audience were actually there to aid the unsettling aspects. Just
Yeah.
chef's kiss.
He also like there were so many wide angle shots and that made it creepier because there were moments where there's so much space. Like you would have like
Yeah.
Lee standing in the center and then you would see like dark shadowed corners and you're like just waiting for something to pop up at some point. Or like I just hate backgrounds in horror
Mhm.
film because it just makes you nervous, but that's the point. And I think he did such a good job with that. So
Yeah.
it was fun.
I totally agree. Overall impact.
I said I think it'll be remembered for a while, especially with the buzz created through social media, because it's definitely popular. It's a popular thing right now. And I think it could age pretty well. I don't think it's going to come anywhere close to the legacy left by like Silence of the Lambs. It's not in that sort of territory at all, but I do think people will be like, oh yeah, like that was that was good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I said a wonderful horror film that deserves to be relevant in the horror community right now.
Yeah.
However, I will keep my spicy takes for later.
Ooh.
But I agree. I think that, you know, it deserves to be talked about right now, and it probably will be talked about
Yeah.
for a while. And this is like one of those films that if we were young, like younger, if we were like in elementary school, middle school, and like you accidentally see this film,
Yeah.
like you're traumatized
Yeah.
kind of thing, like
You'd remember it forever.
you'll remember it forever. So I feel like younger generation will
Yeah.
totally latch onto this as a
Well,
horror film.
I even thought too, on the opposite end of that, I could see this film in like 100 years. Somebody like, because Nicolas Cage right now, one thing I know, which I've already mentioned, he's like a meme to a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
I think though, when we all age and the new generations to come, you know, see this film without that lens, I think they would
Praise
have
him a lot more.
Yeah, they'd be
Yeah.
like, this is a really great old vintage, like cool horror film. But
Yeah, for sure.
yeah.
Well,
Well, that's it.
that's it. We'll
On to
see.
Fact Forest. This is where we're going to talk about any random fun facts about the film and the making of the film. And this week we're doing it a little differently.
Mm-hmm.
We normally take turns, and because we're, you know, all about sharing.
Yeah.
But this week we just decided because it's a new film, let's just each present our own bits of BTS. And so it might align a lot of the times, but might
Yeah.
also bring something different. So
Yeah, it's like whatever you say, if I already have it written, I'm just, you know,
Just gonna repeat it.
I'm just going
Yeah.
to repeat it so
Yeah.
you guys could really hear it.
kick us off.
So I had to start with one of the best ones, which I'm sure you also wrote it, but writer and director Oz Perkins is horror movie royalty.
Yeah.
He's the son or a son of Anthony Perkins, the actor who is best known for playing Norman Bates in Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho, as well as its 3 sequels. So that's pretty cool, BTS.
That is crazy. I mean, he was meant for this.
Yes,
So.
I know.
Pretty dang cool.
That's awesome. You have, like, imagine how much clout you have just with that statement. Like, oh
Oh, I
yeah,
know.
Anthony Perkins, you know, Norman Bates and
Yeah.
Psycho is my dad. That's freaking crazy.
Well, especially for a film that's like so renowned like Psycho. Like that's pretty
Oh my
freaking
gosh.
cool.
I know.
According to Oz Perkins, the idea behind Cage's character is that he was originally a regular man before being commanded to cause murder-suicides. He might have been an everyday accountant, lawyer, or teacher. So he was not always this way.
Interesting.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of a fun little backstory.
That is a good backstory. Despite the praise and acclaim of his portrayal as Longlegs, Nicolas Cage has stated this will be his first and only portrayal of a serial killer for film, In an interview with IndieWire, Cage said, "I know that the phone's going to be ringing off the hook to play serial killers after Longlegs. And that's not really what I like to do. I don't like violence. I don't want to play people who are hurting people."
Which I thought was interesting, but I respect it.
Yeah.
So like, this is not my thing.
Which, hey, honestly, like, I get what he's saying, but also I feel like I wouldn't, if I do one villain really well, like I don't want to go do more villains.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know.
But you gotta be careful, because like, what if the opportunity of a lifetime comes up in
That's true.
10 years? Like, I saw, actually, this is tangent, but Hugh Jackman talking about that, because after Logan, he was like, "I'm never playing Wolverine again." And then he saw Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool and was like, "Oh shoot, I shouldn't have said that." And now he's back. So you never know. Things can change.
Yeah,
but
that's true.
being a serial killer is a little different than a superhero.
Yeah.
But, so this was crazy to me because I did not catch it. And I feel like I'm proud of the fact I can normally catch these things. And you might have. A shadowy figure of a horned goat-like creature is present throughout the film. 15 times he's placed in the movie. It's supposed to be the devil. I went and found these pictures, and yeah, he's there. I never saw him.
That's crazy. I only saw him twice, I think.
You saw him like in theaters?
Yeah.
Dadgummit. I wish I freaking saw it, because that would have been so much creepier.
There's one specific shot that I think it was like behind the little girl.
Yeah.
On the wall, which I was like, okay, that was like the most evident shot. But I think I did see it in like one of the shot.
Dang. I missed it. But it's fun to go look and see
15 times is crazy.
15's crazy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Many of Longlegs' encrypted messages contained misspellings and poor grammar after being decoded. This is an homage to the Zodiac Killer, who is also known for his coded messages containing typos, which often made it more difficult to decode his message.
Which is interesting.
That is interesting.
That freaking word is going to haunt me.
Homage versus
For those of you who know,
homage.
last week's episode or 2 weeks ago.
Gosh. Yeah, crazy.
Oz Perkins thought of only 2 actors to play Longlegs, Nicolas Cage and Brad Pitt.
Dude, that is the craziest
Crazy
freaking thing.
Can you imagine Brad Pitt? No way. I don't know if I see it. I mean, maybe he would have surprised us, but
I don't know. Yeah.
It's hard to picture after seeing Nick Cage in that role.
I don't know. That is hard. I mean, he's a great actor, so I think he could do it, but yeah. Nicolas Cage and Oz Perkins made the movie as a tribute to their mothers.
Yeah. Well, okay, going off of that.
Yes.
Nicolas Cage said that his serial killer role was inspired by seeing his mom use Noxema cold cream when he was a child. He said, "She turned her face really fast and stared at me after putting on the cold cream. The whiteness of the cold cream really spooked me." So that's flattering for his mom, but
yeah, that's scary.
Pretty crazy.
Test audiences described the film as having imagery very similar to the films such as The Silence of the Lambs, Cure, Zodiac, and Seven, which I'm sure marketers were like,
I know.
We have to run with that.
I know. Which is also, crazy to compare. Regarding this again, kind of piggybacking off of what I just said. Regarding the look of Longlegs, Oz Perkins said the idea was that he'd been busted by bad plastic surgery, and that's about the mask. It's the masked killer. It's a genre imperative, whether it's Michael Myers or Jason or even from The Black Phone. If you've ever watched episodes of Botch, there's no end to striving for perfection in your whole look, and that's what we were trying to do. The balance between tightening the face and also filling the face is sort of typical in plastic surgery. First you tighten, and then we have to fill it to make it more youthful. And there's that dance back and forth, often resulting in puffy, sort of disfigured skin. It was interesting to give Longlegs so much of a backstory. But they really thought all of it out. So
yeah, that's awesome. Maybe they're thinking, hey, prequel.
Yeah.
The end credits scrolled down instead of up.
Crazy.
Which I honestly, whenever it happened, I wasn't even thinking about it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
As soon as that was like, okay, that's a nice little cherry on top. That was pretty cool to see.
So
this is our fault for not looking up how to pronounce it ahead of time.
Oh no.
Kira
Shipka.
She delivered her monologue in one take. And I thought that was kind of cool. Always respect a one take queen.
She has an N. Kiernan
Shipka. Kiernan Shipka.
Nice monologue, Kiernan.
Yeah.
To promote the film, Neon created a phone number, which, if dialed, will play a pre-recorded, extremely disturbing message from Nicolas Cage as the killer.
I didn't see that.
I know.
Did you call it?
We have to try it. I haven't tried it yet. Dude,
we have to.
I was like, they took notes from Paranormal Activity. And
Yeah,
right?
100%.
Great marketing.
Little angel. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you.
Apparently, I guess they put it on like a billboard too in like LA, and that was like the only thing they put on the billboard.
Oh, that's cool.
So people were calling it and stuff,
Oh, yeah, that's great.
which is great.
That was all I had.
Okay.
Continue to shower us, please.
Like you already said, Oz Perkins' request of not using Nicolas Cage on the posters or in the trailer, despite him playing the titular character, led Neon to come up with a creative plan to promote and sell the movie without depending on Cage. Because he's the only Kieran and Micah are both big names, but not as big of a name
Not
as
nearly
Nicolas
as big
Cage.
as, yeah.
So I thought that was cool.
It's bold, too. I respect it.
Yeah. This is kind of a long one, so bear with me, but I thought it was really fun.
Okay.
The Micah Monroe and her acting in the interrogation scene.
Oh, yeah.
So Micah Monroe was kept completely in the dark over co-star Nicolas Cage's transformation as the titular serial killer Longlegs, and had never seen Cage in character until they shot their infamous interrogation scene, which also happened to be Cage's final day on set. During filming, Monroe wore a microphone on her shirt, which, along with her dialogue, had managed to capture her heartbeat. Monroe's initial resting rate was 76 BPM. When the scene ended, it had spiked to a rate of 170 BPM.
Action.
The sound of her panicked heartbeat was then used in a final promotion trailer prior to the movie's July 12th release. In an interview with IndieWire, Monroe recalled, "It was insane. It was absolutely insane," she said. "As you know, he completely transformed. There's no trace of Nick in there. His voice, his mannerisms, he was very much method on this. So it was in character, and it's a very disturbing character, to say the least."
Wow. That is so cool. They got to use that.
I know. And they used it in like the final trailer. That's
Yeah.
like wild. And then I have one more, which I thought was just interesting about the backstory. So the film is set in 1995, which is during the final years of the US's Satanic Panic era. This was a moral panic involving widespread accusations of satanic ritual abuse on the basis of recovered memory theory. For example, people were panicked that 1. Organized satanic cults were targeting children for abuse. 2. The abused children were made to forget or repress their memories of the satanic abuse. And 3. The prompted aid of a therapist or investigating officer was able to recover the repressed memories of the victims. Lee Harker's experience follows the moral panic pattern, in that she was forced to forget her memories of being targeted by a Satanist, Longlegs, as a child, and later recovered those repressed memories with assistance.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
I guess
Forgot about
historically,
that. Yeah.
hey, you know.
Lines up.
But that is all for the Fact Forest.
That was some good stuff.
Good
Some
BTS
nice,
there.
juicy stuff.
That's some juicy BTS. All right, on to Mishap Mountain. Not a lot here.
Womp womp. This is where we
Dang it.
Yeah, it hasn't been out long enough, I feel like, for there to be a mounting, list of things. But these are just things that we, pinpoint about.
Continuity errors.
Yeah,
Or,
kind of boring from my end, at least.
yeah.
First one, the first time Harker's at her house, it shows the front door top lock, chain locked. Moments later, there's a tense moment where she locks the same chain lock.
Wow.
Ruins the film.
I could not think of anything after that.
I know.
And then I put the other one, despite the movie being set in the 1990s, the theme for The Price is Right that can be heard on the TV is the version that has been used since 2007. So
I will say, going into some of the mishaps, there were some crazy people out there. Because there's a scene.
to find this?
Yeah, where they were talking about there's 6 lightning strikes in one scene, and that's not common for Oregon. And you're like, who counted the lightning strikes in that moment?
Well, there were a lot of thumbs down on that one because I was like, that's
you
just insane.
psychopath.
Yeah, you are Longlegs.
Yeah, probably. That was it for me.
Okay, same. All right.
Change chamber.
Okay, so this is where we go into things we would change about the film.
Yeah.
Because we are all knowing.
We know how to make films perfect.
We have so much crazy experience. No, we're going to start with things that didn't make sense to us. Okay.
Disclaimer from my end. These are a mix of my own thoughts as well as things that I saw that I was like, oh yeah, what was that about?
Really?
So,
well, I'm super original and they were only my own thoughts.
oh wow. I'll just leave.
I'm just kidding.
So the first one, not mine, but I did think about it when I saw the film. When Carter takes Lee to the scene of the most recent murder, it is estimated that the family has been dead for a month. A cat is then shown in a crate with no explanation as to how the cat could have survived that time locked up without food or water.
Yeah.
I wondered that as well. I was like, okay, if they've been dead for that long, how's the cat there? You know, maybe it's a satanic cat.
How long can
How long?
cats live without food or water?
Maybe it's the cat from Hocus Pocus.
1 to 2 weeks if they have access to water.
I'm telling you.
Yeah, that is crazy. No,
Yeah,
that
absurd.
That doesn't make any sense. Okay. Longlegs is said to be a Satanist who just murders families, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's no other motive mentioned ever, which felt like it was just like, he's a Satanist. He just kills people for fun, as opposed to being methodical. But that completely goes against his character because he is incredibly methodical in his approach to not being caught for literally decades or however many years they were trying to catch him.
Yeah.
So not that I need it explained to me because they probably over-explained a little bit of other things, but at least allude to some other motive than him just worshiping Satan and wanting to kill these people.
I said the exact same thing. I thought we were getting somewhere when she revealed the triangle on the linear calendar. I was like, oh, this
is
has
leading
to
to
happen. And then nothing, you don't really, it doesn't pay off.
You're like, okay, so why does he kill on birthdays?
Yeah.
And like he has all these, I don't know.
Yeah. And also, another disclaimer, if I say something that you caught, please just tell me because this is just based on my viewing experience.
Okay.
We may or may not have had like a beer or two before the film. So we're just going to, go into this. So Longlegs leaves a letter for Lee, teasing her about her birthday and all that jazz. However, I wondered how he knew she was working the case.
Yeah.
And the timing of it. Like, why had he not contacted her prior to this,
Yeah.
I don't know. That was one thing I was like,
Yeah, the timing was interesting.
confusion.
On top of timing, speaking of timing,
Okay.
how did Longlegs kill people and not get caught before he showed up to Lee's house whenever she was a child?
Yeah.
With Lee's mom ending up being his accomplice and that being the reason he never had to step foot in somebody's house, which was a big reason he never got caught.
Yeah.
How did he do it before he showed up to Harker's home?
Yeah.
No way was that his first house he ever tried to kill at either, because then that would just be too coincidental.
Yeah, that's a good point. I kind of said the same thing about Ruth because they've always said that like they had never found evidence of somebody else being present.
Yes.
But we see a scene of her like throwing up in the driveway or like drinking tea. Like,
She has blood on her hands. Like, I just don't understand. Yeah. I agree. And it's like maybe she's like this spy.
Maybe she's a ghost.
Crazy. Yeah. I just put, what was the point of Longlegs wanting Harker to find him?
Yeah. He had this weird obsession with her, but it never.
Which I get, like, he lives in her mom's house.
Yeah.
Maybe that's it. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know.
I mean, he makes the comment of like, he was like, whenever we found out that you joined the FBI, we like laughed about it.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
So, which again, things have to unravel as you have written them in the screenplay. But at the end of the film, why didn't she just shoot the doll as soon as she enters? Like, she should know now. Here's what's going on. Because that would stop this magic or whatever. And by the logic of the movie, it would free everybody who's been hexed. So instead, I don't know why it like killed me, but like she walks in and her boss is obviously under the influence of this magic. And he takes his wife to the kitchen to kill her. And Lee just lets it happen. She's just kind of like, okay, yeah. And it's like, why did you not like shoot him in the leg at least to like take him down, shoot the doll? Like she just like pauses for a long time. You hear the wife getting stabbed to death in the kitchen. And then he comes out and then she shoots him and then she shoots her mom. And then she tries to shoot the doll and the gun jams or who knows?
It's so. I put the exact same
I was
thing.
like, why? It doesn't make sense.
I literally said, freaking shoot your crazy mom, smash the doll. You don't need to shoot the doll, just smash its head into the
that's
floor.
true.
And then shoot the freaking agent. Like, what are you doing?
And shoot the daughter while you're there.
And just shoot everyone. Come on.
Shoot
like,
everyone and be done with
commit.
it.
Just kidding.
Yeah.
Oh, that's crazy. But I was like, yeah, it just didn't make any
Crazy.
sense.
That
Like,
was,
she was like
one
in this
thing that like
trance.
drove me crazy in the film.
But I also said, like, okay, so going back a little bit, like, I guess that Harker's little doll being shot by her mom was her being unpossessed. Like, so her memories could come back.
Yeah.
Right. I watched a couple videos and that's what they both were like.
Right,
I
yeah.
think that's what happened. Why would her mom want her memories to come back? That leads her to wanting to kill her mom. Am I just missing something?
She would have to know that Lee would be like, not for this. That's a good point. Yeah. I don't know.
If I'm her mom, I'm like, just keep forgetting.
You keep that doll.
You keep that doll to yourself.
That's a great point. Yeah.
That didn't
She
make
can't
any
expect.
That just
Whatever.
didn't make any sense. I don't know. Okay. Is there anything we would change about the film?
Yeah. Oh. Sorry, I answered that a little too quickly.
No, I have never written this much ever for anything.
Really?
For any
I
other-
knew you were going to cook with this one. I was like, Adam's going to rewrite the entire screenplay.
You go first, though.
I have two. They're
Okay.
smaller. I said that one thing about the film I did not love was the diversion of plot with the doll making, which
Yeah.
I've already talked to Adam
Yeah.
about. But adding in the heavy supernatural elements with the dolls felt like a little bit of a reach for me. It added credibility to Satanism, which obviously is a thing. But I think I would have preferred that the film stayed more grounded and focused more on the psyche behind the killer. So it shows the process of being a Satanist, not as much of the results. And like, by that, I mean like adding this satanic magic and like,
Mhm.
I was like, you kind of lost me there. I like the intrigue, the cat and mouse between Harker and Longlegs. And I said, I appreciate the shock factor of him committing suicide, but from the direction they took after he commits suicide, I was like, it would have been better just to leave him in the
Yeah.
film for the third act. But
Yeah. No, I know.
and then I have one more, but I'll let you cook.
No, you're good. My first one was actually, and I wrote this because I know you already told me this. I agree with you.
Yeah.
That if Perkins had focused more on the serial killer aspect of this film as opposed to heavily including the supernatural elements, it would have been a more well-rounded horror film.
Yeah.
You can even keep Longlegs a Satanist and obsessed with cultic rituals
Yeah,
or whatever
for
his
sure.
reason is for killing.
Yeah, because I do think that's something like we talked about earlier that makes the film unique. Like you have a serial killer, but his motives are very twisted, and he has this kind of religious side of it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It was very much, it just felt too black and white. It's like,
Yeah.
he's a Satanist, so of course he just kills people and can do magic.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was like, okay.
My second and last one, I said if we do hold on to the doll making, which I would not keep if it was me, but I would not have made her mom the accomplice. Instead, I think it would have been better if Longlegs had used several different accomplices over the years, different people who he gave that choice to sacrifice their souls in order to save their family. Because I feel like it would say to the audience, like, here are the lengths many people, more than you would, think, will go to protect their loved ones. That would have expanded the power and impact that Longlegs had on his victims and the audience. That way, it would not have been just her mother at the end who was committing all these great evils. It would be a wider network of people.
Yeah.
Because I think they pulled like a Friday the 13th on us where it's like, it was her mom all along. And you're like, I wish there was just like more to it.
Yeah.
It just felt too close to home. I don't know. I didn't love it.
I 1000% agree. And that's where like it gets tough because it started off super mysterious and somewhat complicated.
Mm-hmm.
You have all these symbols, you have her drawing triangles, like,
Yeah.
and then just out of nowhere, it just felt surface level and simple.
Yeah.
And I was like, where did this disconnect happen?
Well, like you said, they over explain out of nowhere. And it's, doesn't work.
I would have upped the stakes by having Longlegs trying to perform some sort of weird ritual instead of like sporadically killing families.
Okay.
So here's a crazy brand new idea.
Let's freaking go.
This is the most I've ever written for how I would redo a film.
Okay. I'm ready to picture. I'm going to stare at the white wall.
Okay.
And it's going to be my eyes are the projector.
Okay, bear with me.
Okay.
Okay, first and foremost, I agree with you. Let's just entirely remove the aspect of satanic magic, the metal ball,
Okay.
Longlegs committing suicide in the middle of the film. I'm actually going to push that to the end. Spoiler alert.
Okay.
Ruth being Longlegs' accomplice. I'm getting rid of that.
Sure.
I'm actually getting rid of the entire ending of the film. And in this version, Ruth is actually crazy and doesn't speak sense, as opposed to being an accomplice. So, okay, here's the new plot outline idea. Bear with me, it's a lot.
Okay.
All right, Longlegs has been killing families for, let's say, like decades, leaving hints of a satanic ritual he's performing, where all of these weird symbols would derive from. Longlegs, just like the original film, is a doll maker who lives in a creepy little dark basement with his dolls. So the entire intro is the exact same all the way up until Harker is about to crack the code. Because in this version, Harker actually never catches Longlegs and the code is barely cracked even by the end of the film. So he's still in the loose and they don't know where he is.
Yeah.
This is a little wild, but I'm changing it so that Longlegs simply believes his life purpose is to create orphans in the world in his service for Satan.
Okay.
So now his entire goal is to kill the parents of each family as opposed to killing the entire family. And he still doesn't leave a trace at each scene, which continues to puzzle the FBI, just like the film. One of the biggest pieces of the case is that the parents of each family are actually never found.
Yeah.
So Harker does some digging and hits some walls, but one day her boss invites her to his house just as he does in the film. This time, Harker discovers for the first time his daughter's birthday is on the 14th, which is scary to him. Maybe he's drinking and tells her how scared he is about his own daughter and him and his wife. So then Harker then decides to go do some digging and has that intimate conversation with his daughter in her room, just like we get in the film. However, as they're talking, Harker notices a doll in the room and studies it really closely. She then asks the daughter how the doll came to be, and she tells her it was a gift from the church, just like the film.
Yeah.
Harker looks super closely at it and realizes the doll's hair seems wildly realistic.
Yeah.
She decides to take the doll back with her to the office for it to be examined. So once the doll is examined, they find that, voila, the hair, skin, and eyes belong to the most recent female victim of Longlegs. Harker now comes to the grotesque discovery that Longlegs is somehow using the bodies he kills to help him create realistic dolls. She then makes the assumption that he gives a doll of each past victim to the next victim he plans to kill, so that her boss agent's daughter is now in the line of fire.
Yeah.
So she's able to use this as a way to track him down, even to the store that sells doll supplies, which now gives that store even more purpose in the film. Things progress, Harker gets closer, the 14th is approaching, so now we have that suspense building of if she is going to find him in time, so the stakes are higher.
Right.
After some tension builds, she finally discovers his residence. Let's keep the crazy twist that he lives in Harker's basement, which ties up the fact that he was leaving her certain clues and allows us to keep the intro of Harker as a child with Longlegs at her house. However, I am 100% taking your route, Cam, and suggesting that Ruth isn't the only parent used by Longlegs. Harker discovers that Longlegs convinces the parents that he has possessed their child in a human-like doll, and the only way he will free them from being possessed is if the parents kill themselves. He then takes the parents' bodies down to the basement and uses them to create new dolls for more people. So then why did he not kill Ruth at the beginning? Let's just make it because Harker is actually the first child Longlegs went to, not to kill but to bargain so that he could use their place for residence as a way to avoid the FBI, which is why she was involved. And it just is a coincidence and kind of ironic that she eventually joins the FBI.
Yeah.
We then find out that this is why Ruth went crazy, because she had to cope with the idea of that satanic murderer living with them out of fear of Lee not being possessed. So the ending of the film could literally just be Harker realizing on the morning of the 14th, because why wouldn't we cut it close, where Longlegs stays. So that's the twist. She finds out, oh my gosh, Longlegs is at her freaking house. She goes there, she discovers the space where he kept all of the parents' bodies, which could be as gnarly as the Jeepers Creepers cave scene, and then her and Longlegs have a standoff as the climax before he then commits suicide, and that could just literally be the end of the film.
Oh, wow.
So it kind of does leave on this like weird cliffhanger of like what happened, what's next, and does set, the audience up for potential sequels or whatever, which I would prefer not to have that. But again, just open-ended in a good way. And so I think that there's a lot that you could do in that final sequence. And of course, the twist of her finding out her house. Maybe she obviously wasn't still living there. I mean, like maybe it was just her childhood house and her mom lives in a nursing home now or something. And so Longlegs is there alone.
Yeah.
But that house hasn't sold because her mom's stuff was still in there or something. I don't know. You could still aid that plot. But
Yeah.
that is the general idea of the new idea.
But I think you touched on something that we've already talked about, but like having a meaning behind why he's doing it other than just being a Satanist.
And it doesn't have to be that big like of an activity. It's just like,
yeah. And then like the Avengers come and
yes. And then freaking Fury shows up and is like, hey, you're amazing
gotta do
at
this.
killing people. Can you join the Avengers?
No, I think, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
Anyways.
So, okay, on to casting. Nobody else could have played Longlegs. like
No,
that.
I don't think so. I actually heard Micah was turned down from the lead role, but I'm so glad she got it. I thought she did great, as we've already talked about. If I did have to cast somebody, though, I don't know why this person just feels right. It's because probably she's become one of my favorite actresses.
Oh, wait. Are we about to say the same person?
Surely not. I have 3 technically, but
Okay.
1 is my number 1.
Okay.
I said Carey Mulligan, which would be totally different. Totally different.
Okay.
I just love her to death.
Yeah.
And then I said Saoirse Ronan or Jennifer Lawrence.
Interesting.
I could see them in those roles.
Yeah.
What about you?
I could see it too. I first said Micah was wonderful. I'm actually really looking forward to seeing her in more. But honestly, knowing Florence Pugh's performance in Midsommar, I think she could have done a role like Harper.
Oh, well, yeah, she could do anything.
I know,
she
could
would
really
have killed it.
But I was like, she's kind of too big of a name.
Yeah, I feel like.
I don't know. Maybe not. I don't know.
I did throw in 2, which I was just so random with my casting here. I did say if you take Nick Cage out, though, I would have been interested. I'm not saying they would necessarily do a good job, but I would have been interested in seeing Oscar Isaac try to do that. Like a crazy role, because I have not seen that from him. Would be interesting.
Oh, that would be weird.
And then Ewan McGregor, which I know we just talked about from Dr. Sleep, but I could see him playing a little bit of a crazy,
yeah.
that would just be in some other multi-dimensional situation. Be kind of fun to see.
I'm
But-
for it though.
But that's it. It's a hard week to talk about casting because they both just did such a great job.
Yeah.
So
All right. Least favorite part of the film. The ending.
yeah,
For
the
me,
ending.
It just had so much promise from the beginning,
It did.
which we've already said. And then certain things started to either feel disconnected or a bit of a reach.
Yeah.
And then they started to over-explain certain things that I think if they had kept more mysterious, it could have helped.
Yeah.
But they like over-explained like the wrong things.
100%. And then when it ends, you feel like, no, that's not the ending. Like, there's still like 20 minutes left. There's
Yeah.
no way. And it just, that's it.
I do have a runner-up that they use the words "Hail Satan" as marketing material.
Yeah.
And it's
We
stated,
talked about that even before we saw it. And
dude, obviously because like I'm Christian and it's tough to condone that even in horror, which I guess
Yeah.
I would understand more though if it was only used like once, considering he's literally satanic.
Yeah.
The fact that they used that in the marketing was
Pretty
too far.
bold,
It was
honestly.
super bold.
Yeah. That was
So-
a toughie. That's a good runner up. Title of the film and the movie poster.
Dude, the title is just,
Title's great.
Longlegs is an absolutely unbelievably amazing and
Yeah.
unique horror movie title.
Yeah. It's
Apparent-
incredible.
Apparently the Russian translation is Soul Collector.
Oh, wow.
So there you go.
Well, what was so cool for me, I love when a title just starts to make sense because before I saw the film, was just like, oh, it's like a spider, kind of creepy,
Yeah.
fun, unique. But then in the opening, best part of the film, he says, "It seems I've got my long legs on today." And that's when it all clicked. It's because he's talking to kids and he has to like bend down like that. I was like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. Maybe
Yeah.
I'm reaching and making up my own explanation, but that's
That
how
makes
I
sense.
interpret
I
it.
honestly, I thought about it and I was like, there's got to be a reason. I just
Because
didn't
he's
think
like,
about it.
oh, I wore my long legs today. And then he bends down to talk to the little girl. And you're like, oh my gosh, that was so good. Loved it.
That makes total
But
sense.
even if that's not the meaning, I just think I agree. It just sounds great. And it's
Yeah.
a great, unique title.
Yeah, I agree. The movie poster I loved very, very much
Yeah.
as well. Really, everything aesthetically about it, including the trailer, just made me so excited for
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
The
Well,
eyes on the poster.
Yeah. And I went through a few different posters and they're all, they all capture that atmosphere that's so important to the film. Some of them leaned more into, the evil.
Yeah.
Some lean more into that small town feel, and it's obviously jarring.
Yeah.
They did the whole marketing team, so great.
I know.
Tip my hat to them. But
Yeah. What would be a worse name for the film title?
there's one written in the stars, Daddy Longlegs. I just had to. He just had to.
Classic.
And after that, I just have one more. What do you have?
I have two.
You have two?
First one, Silence of the Long Lambs.
You always do this to me.
I'm so sorry.
Long Lambs.
Long Lambs.
Love it.
And then Longlegs, The Revenge of Ghost Rider.
I get it. I also went into the Nick Cage lore. I don't know if you've ever seen The Wicker Man, but I had to hit him with the not the bees. That was it.
Wait, what?
He screams not the bees, and it's like one of the worst acting moments ever. And he's so great, but it's a terrible moment. So I was like, if we're going into the lore of Nick Cage, there you go.
Hey, that's great.
Oh, no, not the bees! Not the bees! Ah!
We both went lore of Nick Cage.
Yeah, we did.
That's fun.
It's hard not to.
I know. Okay, Hot Takes Hallway. We're here. It's Spice time. Favorite reviews, starting with our 10 stars. What you got?
My first one, I have two.
Okay.
Comes from Ricky Fonseca.
Ooh.
To the lady in the theater who screamed every time Nicolas Cage appeared, I hope you're doing okay. Pure anxiety and just plain unsettling. The performances cannot be praised enough. It's so atmospheric in a way where you can feel like you're stuck in a never-ending nightmare. Fun.
Very fun.
Yep.
My first one, what do you people want? Reading all of these scores from viewers in the 5s and 6s saying this wasn't scary enough or that it was boring, clearly we saw different films, as this was nothing but pure crushing suspense and dread for the entirety of the movie. Is that not exhilarating to anyone like it is for me? The visuals were chilling and unsettling, the cinematography was gorgeous and often very singular, the story was fun and ridiculous in all the right ways, great acting all around, and Nick Cage added such a sense of fun and over-the-top absurdity to the bad guy character, which was absolutely needed. This is a modern Silence of the Lambs, and it scratches all of the right itches for this genre. Scary and extreme, but not so much that you lose the ability to follow the plot. Excellent filmmaking, can't wait to see it again.
Oh, wow. Yeah, they're singing the praises.
They're singing the praises.
My last one comes from Haley, who said, I had high hopes for this, and I was not disappointed. I don't know what it was about this damn movie, but I feel so sick right now. My stomach hurts, I feel like I need to cry, and my legs are shaking. I just don't feel right. Maybe I'm overhyping this, but this one really got to me. I don't know if I can ever watch it again. Very extreme.
Very extreme.
And I've seen other people say similar things, like, this made me nauseous. This made me laugh uncomfortably. Like,
dude,
it got to some people.
Talk about whenever movies came out for the first time and reactions to them. Like, I remember we talked about this already. Paranormal Activity, the reactions were crazy. Insidious, people were like, I couldn't sleep for days.
Yeah.
I remember hearing people say that after the theater, after they saw it in theater. So it was like, people are going to say that about any like good new horror movie. Longlegs is a new horror classic. My Longlegs review, spoiler-ish. So there are some spoilers, so bear with me. Longlegs is very, very good. X-Files by way of Kubrick with a giallo top-off. I admire how it also runs towards its Silence of the Lambs comparisons in order to blast through them. It drags a lot of the serial killer movie tropes into a new, strange, and evil light. Although being terrified is always a welcome and hoped-for outcome, I'm very desensitized with horror, so for me, the first viewing wasn't necessarily about trying to put that weight of expectation on the movie. That being said, some of the movie's pre-hype had me hoping for just a smidge more holy gosh, my mind just broke from sheer terror moments, though I sense this movie could linger with me and become more dread-inducing over time and more viewings. However, what I was mainly hoping for was a particular vibe of genre transcendence, a new approach, and Longlegs hits the target with dead-on bullseye. Pick should really be commended for going there more times than not. It's interrogating and relishing in the serial killer movie tropes simultaneously, so you get a movie that isn't just a clinical experience, and that's in no small way a part indebted to Pick's expert use of Cage. We just get enough Cage-iness to really set a certain maniacal tone to infect the movie like a bite from a rabid creature. By the Pick's end, the fever dreams are setting in and the sick mania is overriding our senses of reality. I loved it. Please, more theatrical releases taking ambitious swings like this. Hats off to Perkins, Monroe, and Cage. Cage-assance.
Cage Sots. Love that. Dang.
So-
All right, he really got into the.
I know. So it sounds like that's a film critic, though. you
Yeah, I
know,
was gonna
like,
say that.
That's
guy-
why I wanted to use a review like that.
Yeah, for sure.
1 stars.
1 stars. First one comes from Haziad, who said, "Do not buy into this Silence of the Lambs, Hereditary, Carrie, The Witch, AHS 7 from Temu. I was really excited for this neon horror, especially after this here's the word, it snuck up on me. Can streak. Dang it. But the gap between my experience and all of the reviews makes me genuinely concerned about my grasp on reality. Every single serial horror cliche, snakes, the devil, dolls, shotguns, bloody nuns, weird little girls, a random asylum patient, coded notes, a secret basement, a secret history, packed into a movie so ham-handed that Sophia and I and everyone else in the theater could not help but laugh. Wish this was an indie short since the beginning was so good." Yeah.
Dude, if the indie short was just of the intro, like
That'd
that
be
would
crazy.
be insane.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. My first 1 star title, give the marketing team an award. What a mess. I love a good horror movie. Heck, I love a good B movie. I love a cult classic. But the story makes no sense. I mean it. No sense. There are scenes that seem entirely disconnected from the plot. Why is Cage at the bus stop? Why are they investigating the farmhouse in the dark with flashlights? Why is she psychic? Wait, is there a plot at all? Is it camp? Am I supposed to be in on the joke? But no, it's just a mess of a movie. The main actress is playing it straight and oh so dull, but Cage is hamming it up to the nth degree. Oh, and did I mention there's not one moment watching this movie that you will feel dread? Not a single moment of terror, fright, or tension.
Wow. That is kind of a hot take in its own way.
That is crazy.
Yeah. My last one's super short. It comes from Norm, son of a gun, who said, "Not scary enough to be horror, not smart enough to be mystery, and the legs, not even that short." Dad joke from this guy. That's all he had for us.
That's good. Okay, I did another in-depth. Breaks fundamental rules of storytelling. This movie breaks show, don't tell. The agents solving the case and the characters revealing who they are to themselves are done purely via exposition. For a crime mystery movie, we have no opportunity to figure out things on their own. It just cuts to, oh, the agent has found out that X means Y off camera. The final explanation is essentially magic, and the plot twist is so unbelievable. The movie was completely overhyped by a good marketing campaign, but failed to deliver. It has all the potential of a good movie. Competent cinematography, good actors, but fails in the most fundamental aspect, writing. It was just boring. It was also not remotely scary. The only reaction I got was from jump scares. No tension when the killer was off screen or anything. Absolutely trust the negative reviews. I don't understand what the people rating this positively see. Maybe I'm just an idiot and missing something fundamental, but everyone in the theater with me seemed to think it was rubbish afterwards. If you've not seen it, literally just don't watch it. It's nothing.
It's nothing. Wow. That's just cold. That's
Dude,
a one-liner.
polarizing just reviews on this is crazy.
Yeah, which we always love a good contrast.
Hey, you know?
Okay.
Do we have any hot takes about the film?
Yeah, not a ton actually. My big one is that if the entire film was like Act 1, it would have been a great detective thriller.
Yeah.
It's not much of a hot take. I think a lot of people would agree.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not. I don't know. I just feel like Act 1 just got me so excited for what was to come, and then I was let down by what followed.
Yeah. I agree. I organized mine by a few positive hot takes and then a few
Oh.
negative hot takes.
Okay.
So my positive hot take, the opening sequence may be one of the top 10 greatest opening horror sequences of all time.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
I mean, that's a big take. but,
totally fair. It's
dude,
a big take. It's fair. I think it was brilliant.
If you want to go watch it, if you want to leave after 15 minutes, that's fine.
Yeah. Just go watch the opening and you'll be like, wow,
Yeah.
great.
This is my new favorite Nicolas Cage performance.
Wow. I'm trying to think what would rival that.
Maybe second to National Treasure, I guess. But
Yeah.
I mean, I love National Treasure.
No, I think that's a good point. I didn't even think to go there, but I think this is probably the most talent we see from him in
Yeah.
a performance that I can think of.
And then my last positive was Longlegs as a character is one of the top 3 creepiest serial killers ever created for a film.
Yeah. I think that's fair too.
He's way creepier. This is a hot take. He's way creepier than the freaking serial killer in Silence of the Lambs.
Oh, yeah. Buffalo Bill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Buffalo Bill is more just a regular guy.
Yeah.
And that makes him more unnerving
Yeah.
in a detective case.
Man.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think yours are hot, but I like agree with them. So it's like, I don't know if we're just in a, echo chamber,
bath.
but yeah, but I agree. Would you like to continue?
Oh, do you have any more?
That was my one.
Oh, okay. I have a few negatives. I'll just come out and say it. We've already alluded to this.
Okay.
This is not our generation's Silence of the Lambs.
No,
I'm sorry.
not even close.
I am in no way trying to crap on Oz. He did a phenomenal job and he'll most likely continue to make even better horror thrillers. But if I were him, I'd be pissed if somebody compared it to one of the most iconic films of all time.
You can't
knowing
do
that it's not.
You can't do that.
While it's wonderful marketing, now everyone is going to freaking compare it to that, which just isn't fair to him.
That and Seven.
Yes. As soon as you get past the unique editing and cinematography and start to dive into the actual story and comparison between twists, it's apples and oranges. I mean, do you remember the twist in Silence of the Lambs at the end when she shows up at the right house and the cops don't?
Yeah.
Do you remember the nerves that you felt?
Phenomenal. It's like executed
the stomach drop
flawlessly.
I felt in that moment.
Yeah.
Nowhere near
No.
to the twist in this.
No.
And then on that note, while Longlegs might have had potential to be as equally notable, it just falls a little flat in the second half of the film in the storyline, which is the writing.
Yeah.
Okay, my next one, I have to slightly agree that the storytelling just takes a weird shape post part one. Like part one was fun and crazy and mysterious, so us as the audience are able to trust what is coming is going to tie it all up with a nice bow, and I just struggled to do that.
Yeah.
It's like they almost wrote the first part, and then they were like, how do we
take it from
take
here?
it from here? And then my last one, I entirely agree that the hype is over the top and hurts a little bit.
Yeah.
But I was thinking, if I was Perkins, would I be happy with the marketing team that it caught so much buzz and did well at the box office? Like, it's hard because like
it is tough.
That's probably why it does so well. So like it, but would you be also annoyed that if it started to get compared to other amazing films and then it hurts the credibility whenever audience viewers go, like they're not, unbiased. It's just tough.
Yeah, it is tough.
But at least you made some money.
All for a buck.
What is the hottest of all hot takes? I feel like we both probably think the same thing. Which neither of us wrote this, but we both heard it was said like to be one of the best horror films of the last 10 years.
Yeah, I think that's a wild hot
spitting
take.
on the face of Ari Aster and Robert Eggers, but
for sure. I was about to ask, like, well, what do you think is but we can't tell you yet. What was I just gonna say? Oh, Nicolas Cage, being a bad actor in this film. I think that's a hot take.
Yeah.
And then, saying that it's nothing. I think that's wild too.
Dude, that's crazy.
a hard. That's a hard thing to say. That's brutal. And I think
that is brutal.
It accomplishes a lot of things, but it obviously missed some marks. But
obviously disagree with that. So
yeah.
Do we agree with the IMDb rating of 7.2 out of 10?
I was pretty close. We actually had a friend ask us after the film, what do you give it? And I said a 7 out of 10. So I'm pretty close in alignment with IMDb. I think 7 to 7.2, that's a fair range.
Yeah, I agreed with you. I said 7 too. I gave it a 3.5 out of 5 on Letterboxd. What is the chill factor? Our favorite part of the film.
3, 2.
Intro.
It's the opening scene. Yeah.
Yeah.
Has to be.
And then, of course, like runner-ups, I just put cinematography and framing. I loved the framing.
Framing was...
Keeping his eyes out of it was genius.
I loved the way... And especially in that singing moment where he's singing to her.
And you're like, I am so unsettled right now. Just very good. Yeah. Just the way that like Ari Aster like created new ways to be unsettled in film and horror for what I thought. I thought that, he did with that. I was like, okay, that's a unique way to do it. And then Nick Cage's performance, I said, was another runner-up. And then the crazy editing and score mixed together, which is pretty much just the first part.
I think that's fair.
Final Rex.
I would not recommend this to everybody.
Yeah.
If you prefer to stay away from anything demonic, then this one is definitely one to avoid. And like we talked about earlier, it's definitely more on the slow burn, artsy side, which is not for traditional horror fans. And I think that's totally fair. Everybody has their own taste, but definitely not for everybody. It's not like an Aliens where you're like, yeah, everyone could like this film.
Yeah, and to add on to that, like, I know we were kind of joking about only seeing the first part, but if you're a film lover and you want to get the best ultimate horror experience out of this, leave after part 1.
Yeah, honestly. And then let your imagination just fill in the gaps.
I mean, seriously, you'll be more scared.
Yeah, and more satisfied probably.
Yeah. So, which is kind of sad.
Yeah.
If I heard anyone,
I was going to say, if they said that about anything I did, I'd be like,
yeah, leave it after 15 minutes
of a 2-hour
like,
film.
So curses. But hey, you know, you're going to get under the spotlight.
Where can we watch this?
Oh, I don't know, Cam. How about go to your local movie theater?
Sponsored by
The Warren.
Yeah, go
Sponsored by Regal.
If you want to see it, go get your butt in a theater.
Yeah.
That be it.
That do be it.
That is our breakdown of the classic, well, hopefully soon to be classic. I'm so used to saying that after some of these older, but this one's not old at all. It's brand new.
The classic Longlegs.
This is classic Longlegs. We've all seen it. Thank you so much for listening. If you've enjoyed today's episode, please leave us a review or follow us on social media at The Chamber of Chills. If you have your own hot takes to share with us for this film, you can always let us know. I know that they may be brewing because you may have not seen it yet, or you're still processing what we've all seen.
Yeah.
But we'd love to hear your spicy takes and include them in our next Hot Takes Hallway episode. Here's where we had a little predicament. We always close with a riddle. We've already given you a riddle for the film to come.
That's true.
So I did not come prepared with a riddle because we've already given you one in last week.
We'll give you one in the next.
But
yeah,
we'll continue our riddle streak in the next one.
That makes total.
But the next episode is going to be, I mean, if you want some like deep thinking.
Hey, let's just say, you know, yeah.
It hurt my brain.
I don't care.
It hurts my brain thinking about writing my notes for that film, but
yes,
it's going to be great. I'm super stoked. So
yeah, I'm sure the BTS will be freaking crazy.
Yeah. Well, until next time, this has been the Chamber of Chills signing off.
See you guys.